Today's date is July 23rd, 2021, and the time is 10:46 a.m. This will be the 30B6 videotape deposition of Pike Electric, given by Bonnie Desi in the matter of Grant Holloway versus Pike Electric LLC et al. Would counsel please identify themselves for the record and any objection to the witness being sworn in remotely?
Jeb Butler for the plaintiff. In the room with me here is Tom Giannotti, also for the plaintiff, and on the Zoom with us is Carrie Daly, paralegal for the plaintiff. We have no objection.
Burke Johnson, attorney for the defendants, have no objection either. And we, of course, as I identified earlier, have Ms. Desi, Chad Whitehead, and Garrett Bush here with us.
And would the court reporter please swear in the witness?
Not quite yet. We'll do a little short read on. So this will be the 30B6 deposition of Pike Electric LLC taken pursuant to notice, pursuant to Civil Practice Act for any purpose included under the Civil Practice Act, including use of trial. And then this next part, Mr. Johnson, correct me if I get something wrong. As I understand it, going from our notice, Ms. Desi, our first witness, is designated to talk about enumerations 3, 4, 9, and 10. Mr. Whitehead is to talk about 1H and 6. And Mr. Bush has been designated by defendant for the basically everything else.
Correct.
All right. So that completes the read on. Wait, let me make sure about damn. Now I have technical thing. We'll play a video at some point. And I know there's some button I'm supposed to click to optimize my machine for playing and showing video. Is there can anyone guide me to that?
In the middle bottom of your screen, there's a share screen.
Yeah, I know how to share the screen. I have to do it at that point. Ah, I see. Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right, let's start. With the court reporter, please swear on a witness.
Ms. Desi, if you would raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in this matter pending before us on the 23rd of July, 2021?
I do.
Okay. Jeb, your witness is sworn.
All right. Please state your name for the record.
Bonnie Desi.
And you and I have not met or spoken before this morning, right?
Correct.
What company do you work for, Ms. Desi?
I work for Pike Enterprises.
And what is your job title there?
I'm the Director of Risk Management and Claims.
How long have you worked for Pike Enterprises?
2 years.
Do you understand that for this deposition, we, that is Mr. Holloway, asked to speak with a company representative on certain topics, and you've been chosen to speak about at least some of those topics. So yeah. When we talk about those topics, your answers are the answers of Pike itself.
Correct.
Let's talk a little bit about your job. I will show you now what has been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 29. Do you see that on the screen in front of you?
Not yet. Nope.
All right. I show that I'm sharing the screen.
Oh, as far as my LinkedIn profile?
That's right.
Yes.
See, it has the exhibit sticker in the top right that said Plaintiff's Exhibit 29?
Yes.
And this is your LinkedIn profile, right?
Correct.
If we scroll down a little bit, we see the About You, and one of the things written here is, quote, reduce claims cost, right?
Correct.
That means allowing the company to settle cases for less money, right?
One question.
We settle cases for the correct amount.
Well, reduce claims cost would mean settling for less money, right?
I'm going to object to this line of questions. That's not part of the notice of deposition.
What's the answer, Ms. Desi?
Well, reduce by its nature means to lower.
Okay. So we scroll down, we see here, you've been at Pike for about 2 years, which I think is exactly what you said, right?
Correct.
And then before that, you're with FCCI Insurance Group
Correct.
for about 4 years.
Yes, correct.
And before that with Nationwide Insurance, right?
Correct.
Have you given a deposition before?
I have.
How many times?
More than 5, less than 10.
Okay. Have you ever given a deposition in connection with your work at Pike?
I have not.
Have all your depositions been about claims that you were handling for an insurance company or some other company?
Let me think about that. Yes, I have.
Did you meet with Pike's lawyers or lawyer before this deposition?
I did.
How many times?
In person and over the phone, a dozen.
Okay.
That is a rough estimate.
Sure. So in anticipation of this deposition today, did you meet this morning before we started?
Yes,
For how long?
an hour.
Did you meet earlier in the week as well?
Yes.
Pike talks a lot about safety, doesn't it?
Yes.
In fact, the word safety is written in all capital letters on the side of Pike's trucks, isn't it?
It is.
And then Pike's webpage also has a good bit to say about safety, doesn't it?
I have not visited the webpage.
Let me show you something and then I'll ask you if it looks familiar. Do you see Plaintiffs Exhibit 24 on the screen in front of you?
I do.
Do you recognize that as coming from Pike's webpage?
I have not visited our webpage. I believe you if you're saying that, but I have not been to the webpage.
Okay. Well, let me just ask you about specific language then, and I'll see if you agree with it. It says, read the whole thing. It says, at Pike, we don't just say we're committed to a safety culture. We believe it, we believe in it, instill it, and live by it. Do you think that's true for Pike?
Absolutely.
All right. And Pike also has what it calls a stay safe manual, right?
Yes,
Do you see that on the screen in front of you?
I do.
If we were to scroll down to the second page of this document, which is marked as Plaintiffs Exhibit 4, you see it starts with the chairman's message, right?
Yes,
I'll zoom in a little bit. Well, I guess that's the best I can do. And the very first sentence of the chairman of Pike is, quote, safety is the #1 focus as we plan and complete our work. Each of us must have the highest expectations for ourselves and our coworkers when it comes to working safely. Isn't that what it says?
yes,
Does safety include the way Pike trucks are operated?
yes,
It would include making sure Pike's drivers are well trained, right?
yes,
And making sure the trucks are well maintained.
correct.
I'd like to show you another page from Plaintiffs Exhibit 4, which is the Stay Safe Manual. And this highlighted language on page 7 of the PDF just confirms what we talked about, that safety includes vehicles and avoiding accidents, right?
Yes, correct.
I want to ask you a little bit about some of the discovery materials in this case. You're probably well familiar with how requests for admissions work in litigation, right?
Yes,
Basically, one party makes a statement and then the other party is supposed to either admit or deny or say, we don't know, right?
yes,
Okay. Let me show you then some of the requests for admissions in this case. Do you see in front of you the document marked Plaintiffs Exhibit 2?
I do.
And as the highlighted language says, Plaintiffs Exhibit 2 is Pike's responses to plaintiff's first requests for admissions, right?
Yes,
Okay. Now, if we scroll down We'll get to the actual request for admissions. And these are the two I want to ask you about, numbers 3 and 4. Number 3 says, the statement is Jonathan Edwards was at fault for the collision on December 2, 2020, right?
Are you asking, is that what the question says?
Yes.
Yes,
And Jonathan Edwards was, of course, the driver of the Pike truck that was involved in this collision, right?
yes,
And then Pike's response was to deny that he was at fault. Is that right?
correct.
Do you stand by that?
Yes,
Okay. Let's go down to number 4. And number 4 says Jonathan Edwards was partially at fault for the collision on December 2, 2020, and Pike denied that as well, right?
correct.
Do you stand by that?
Yes,
A little bit more about Jonathan Edwards. He was an employee of Pike Electric, right?
yes,
He was acting in the course and scope of his employment at the time of this collision, right?
he was.
And Pike Electric controlled the time, manner, and methods with which Jonathan Edwards went about his work, correct?
Yeah, correct.
I want to ask you next about some interrogatories. You're probably well familiar with interrogatories too, I would think. Is that right?
Yes,
All right. Do you see the interrogatories on the screen in front of you?
yes, sir.
This is marked as Plaintiffs Exhibit 3, right? Do you see
Yes,
Plaintiffs?
I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't know you needed a response. Yes,
Okay, and interrogatories is just where one party asks a written question and the other party is supposed to respond to that question, right?
correct.
So let's scroll down and we'll look at interrogatory number 1, which says, do you believe that the way Jonathan Edwards operated the Pike Electric truck on the morning of December 2, 2020 was safe? Do you see that?
I do.
What's the answer to that question?
I believe he operated it in a safe manner with everything possible illuminated, all of his lights and flashers and emergency signals.
So you believe he operated the truck in a safe manner?
I do.
All right, let's look at number 2. And this asks whether the way Edwards operated the truck was acceptable to Pike. You see that?
I do.
What's the answer to that?
We stand behind what we're saying in that he had everything he needed to make himself seen operating his lights and flashers and emergency signals.
Was the way that Edwards operated the truck that morning acceptable to Pike?
Yes,
Let's look at some video. Now, we've received in discovery, as you probably know, a video of or at least 4 different videos of this collision. Do you know what I'm talking about?
yes, I do.
And what we've done in our office is stitch them all together to make one longer video that shows sort of what we see from the cameras on and in the Pike truck. And I'll show that to you now for the record. This will be Plaintiff's Exhibit number 10. Do you see the beginning of that video in front of you?
Yes,
All right, I'll hit play. We'll watch the whole thing. Then I'll ask you a couple questions.
All right, but they don't. What is that thing that got moisture on it again? I'm sure. Right on the side of the road or in the road? Right in the road. You got the blinker on. Put these on. That's pretty damn nice in there. Let's go out there and wait till it cold out. Yeah, awesome, dude. He's really changing in his older age. Yes, he is. feelings like Bill catches feelings like Bill catches feelings. You know Bill? You know Bill? He's an old ass fucking guy. What you put in here? Where's it at? Right here. I just barely opened it. Oh, man. I'm gonna put it up, throw it away or something. No, no. Too strong. You sure? Yeah, it'll be gone out of here. Just a minute. It's got that heat blowing on it. And we're going 5 miles an hour. Yep. I wish the stupid motherfucker would blow up. I know. That's what I ought to do. I ought to fucking. Hey, Greg, need to get a new fucking line truck. Somebody's gonna get us killed. I am feel some heat on my fingertips. Oh yeah, that's great. Okay. Get on that 1-lane road. We won't be moving at all. Yeah, no. Oh shit, we ain't gonna be able to get up the hill. We really ain't. I know. Don't wipe your face with that. Dude, this right here, I don't know if you ever used it. If you got creosote on you, this shit fucking works. Yeah. I thought you was finna wipe your face with it. I did when I had the creosote on my face. I had a little bit right here. I wiped it on there. Yeah, it was burning like hell. Oh yeah. But it caused it to stop. Not long after that. Dried it out. You stupid motherfucker. What? That thing's not hit us. No, they did. Yeah, I swear to God. Unless they got over. Can you see out of it now? That's pretty thick ice this morning. That is so beautiful. Look. That's what I like to see. And get up in the morning and get in the deer stand and it gets daylight and you out. Just like this right here. You look out there. Yeah, hell yeah. I live on the side. I got some of them hand warmers in my truck. It's old. It doesn't work for a few minutes. Hell yeah, you ought to grab it.
Mr. Butler, I think you're on mute.
We don't hear you.
Nope. No, we cannot hear you. Would you like to go off the record to try to fix this? Hey, the time is 11:05 a.m. We're off the record. The time is 11:06 a.m. We're on the record.
Ms. Desi, could you hear that beeping noise throughout the video that was playing as Exhibit 10?
I could.
Does that sound like a warning to you?
It was.
Does that sound like a sound that would be coming from a truck that was in good, safe condition?
It was a warning that there was something that needed to be checked.
Pike's driver ignored that beeping and drove the truck anyway, right?
He was looking for a safe place to pull off the road. There was a place coming up.
My question was, he drove the truck anyway.
Correct.
Do you think that was a safe choice?
Before the question, you can answer.
Multiple cars passed him because so many lights were illuminated, which makes me believe that it was safe for him to try to find a place to pull off.
We'll address those cars in just a minute. But my question was, do you think it was a safe choice for him to drive a truck with that beeping noise like that?
In retrospect, if he could have pulled off safely, that might have been something he could have done, but he was looking for a place to pull off of the road.
Did he tell you that?
Rephrase the question, I'm not sure. Did he tell me what?
You just said that the driver was looking for a place to turn off the road. Did the driver tell you that?
His foreman told us that.
Okay. Isn't it true that even before the driver left the parking lot and pulled onto the US highway, that beeping noise had started?
I honestly don't remember from the first video if that had started.
All right, well, let's take a look then. I'll show you one more time, just the beginning of Plaintiff's Exhibit 10. All right, I'll hit play. And I've stopped the Plaintiff's Exhibit 10 at 15 seconds in. Isn't it true that the beeping had been going for at least 15 seconds before the truck ever pulled onto the road?
I can't testify to the 15 seconds, but it was going before he pulled onto the road.
And isn't it also true that the driver of the truck started over on the shoulder of the road and then decided to go into the traffic lane?
It appears that way from the video.
And in fact, the driver talks about that, right? Decides to leave the shoulder of the road and pull into the traffic lane.
Yes.
Now, a minute ago, you asked about other vehicles passing, right? Did you make a point a second ago? You said other vehicles passed?
Correct.
Now, do you know what lane those vehicles were in when they were behind the Pike truck?
I do not.
In other words, they could have been the left lane to begin with, right?
It's possible.
And some of them were pretty close to hitting the Pike truck, weren't they?
I have no way to know that.
Well, let's watch an excerpt from the video of the Pike truck that's going to be labeled Plaintiff's Exhibit 10.5, and I'll ask you that same question again. In that video clip, did you hear the driver say that stupid motherfucker just about his?
I did not hear that.
Let's try it again, and I'll see if I can share it in a different way that maybe will be helpful.
Grind it out. Stupid motherfucker. What? That thing's not his. Dude. Yeah, I swear to God. Unless they got over.
Did you hear the driver say they just about his?
I heard him cuss and call him a name. I cannot clearly hear what he's saying. I hear pieces of that.
Did you hear him then say, I swear to God?
I heard the words, I swear to God.
Isn't it true that other vehicles blew their horns as they passed this Pike truck?
I did not hear any vehicle blow their horn but the other Pike truck.
Okay, the other Pike truck passed and blew its horn. Isn't that true?
Correct.
In fact, Pike's driver in the subject truck was worried that he was going to get hurt, wasn't he?
I can't answer for what he was worried about.
Well, let's listen to him then. I'll play you another clip from the video. This is labeled Plaintiff's Exhibit 10.4.
Fucking mine truck. This some bitch gonna get us killed.
Did you hear him say, this some bitch is gonna get us killed?
I did.
All right. Now, in addition to ignoring the beeping sound, the driver of the Pike truck drove despite warning lights on the dashboard, didn't he?
He did.
How fast was he driving at the time of the collision?
I can't testify to that directly. I can tell you what the video shows, but there is a margin of error within that. The video shows 4 miles an hour.
4 miles per hour? Is that what you said?
I believe that's what the video shows.
All right. Now, it sounded like Pike's driver was frustrated with the condition of this truck, didn't it?
I can't assume how he felt other than anybody going to work on a cold morning might be frustrated with their job.
No, he expressed specific frustration with this truck, didn't he?
It appeared that way from the conversation, but I can't testify for sure how he felt.
I'm asking you what he said, not how he felt. He said he expressed frustration with the truck. Do you agree or do you not?
I agree.
On the question that he said what he said, but she can't speculate what's in his mind.
All right, well, since we got an objection, we'll play the video. And I'll play for you now another clip from the video, and this is marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 10.3.
I wish the stupid motherfucker would blow up. I know.
Did you hear him say he wished the truck would blow up?
I believe that came from the passenger, didn't it?
Well, either of them. I think it was the driver. Well, we can watch. We'll watch it again.
I wish the stupid motherfucker would blow up. I know.
Did you hear the driver say he wished the truck would blow up?
I'm sorry, Mr. Butler, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I honestly have heard that before and I thought it came from the passenger. I don't know who made that statement.
Anyway, one of the Pike employees said that.
Correct.
All right. Now, this was not the first time that the warning lights on the dashboard of this truck had gone off, was it?
I believe so, but I could not swear to that one way or the other.
Well, are you aware, based on the documents produced in discovery in this case, that the warning light's been going off in the dashboard for quite some time?
We actually are going to have a different corporate witness speak to the fleet piece of this. That's not my expertise. And anything I say to you would be conjecture at this point on the operation of the vehicle itself.
Well, I'm asking you about the discovery responses and about responsibility for the collision. So I'll request an answer. If you don't know, of course, you can say that you don't know.
I don't know.
All right, well, let's take a look then. You're familiar with pre-trip inspection forms, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, tell us what one is.
Again, I'm going to have somebody else from safety speak to the details around that, because again, it's not something that I do in my role, but I know in general that they inspect the vehicles before they begin a trip and when they return from a trip. I could not give you any more detail than that.
That's all we need. I thought that was pretty good, actually. So Pike produced to us in discovery in this case some pre-trip inspection forms, right?
Correct.
Let's take a look. Do you see Plaintiff's Exhibit 7 in front of you there?
I do.
And at the very top left of this pad, it says pre-trip/post-trip inspection form, right?
Yes.
Now, if we look at it, it says, well, let's see, there's the box on the top left is for November 30, 2020, right?
Yes.
And that'd be a few days before this collision, right?
Correct.
And it says CE for check engine, right?
No, I do not believe that's what CE stands for.
What do you believe it stands for?
I actually don't know. I initially thought it was Jonathan Edwards' initials, but he doesn't have a C in his name. So I'm not sure.
Well, if someone were to say that stands for check engine, would you have any reason to disagree with that statement?
I wouldn't agree or disagree because I don't know what it stands for.
Well, whatever it stands for, it appears in the notes for November 30, December 1, and December 2, right?
Yes.
And then if we keep scrolling down, we'll see it goes back. We also see that in the notes for November 23 and November 24, right?
I can't read that particular exhibit.
Let me try zooming in for you. So here, do you see CE in the forms for 1123 and 1124?
I can clearly see it on 1124. I see something on 1123. I can't, I believe you if that's what you're saying it says, but I can't see it.
In fact, some of the photographs produced in this case tell us that the warning lights on the dashboard were going off even well before November 23, right?
I don't think I've seen those photographs.
Okay, well, let's take a look. You see Plaintiffs Exhibit 8 on the screen in front of you.
Yes.
If we scroll down a little bit, I'll have to zoom out a little. We can see that there's a picture of a dashboard of the truck, right?
Yes.
And there's some warning lights on, 4 of them, in fact, right?
It's a black and white photograph, so to be honest, I can't tell whether they're on. I see where you're pointing, but I can't tell that it's illuminated.
Let me do some highlighting here. Do you see these 4 indicators in the dashboard of the truck that I've just highlighted?
Yes, I see those symbols.
Okay. Now the date on this photograph is November 1, right?
Yes.
That'd be November 1, 2020, right?
I don't know that.
Okay, well, it says Sunday, November 21, right?
Yes.
And you probably weren't aware of this, but would you have any reason to disagree looking now at the calendar that's marked as Plaintiff Exhibit 9 that Sunday, or that November 21, or excuse me, November the 1st fell on a Sunday in the year 2020?
Yes.
I mean, 2020 obviously is the year this collision happened, right?
Correct.
Let's go back to Plaintiff's Exhibit 8 and the first of the 2 pages that constitute Exhibit 8. If we're looking again at this photo with the 4 lights in the dashboard, we can see the truck is running in this photo, right?
How can you assume that? I don't see anything to assume that.
Well, look at the, you see what I'm highlighting now? The tachometer here.
Yes.
It says the truck's running at about, I don't know, 7,500 RPM, right?
Again, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I don't know enough about these trucks or the tachometer to know. If you, in my car, and I believe if I am sitting perfectly still and give the car gas, it makes the tachometer go up.
Are you saying that in your car, the tachometer goes up even when the engine isn't running?
Again, I do not profess to be a fleet expert. I believe when you rev your engine that goes up.
That's my point. The engine's on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go then to the second picture in Plaintiff's Exhibit 8. And this is another picture of the dashboard, right?
I'm assuming so. I have not seen these.
Okay, well, they were produced to us
Okay.
by Pike. Doesn't look like they have Bates numbers, but they were. Anyway, do you see 4 lights all illuminated in the dashboard of this truck?
I do see 4 symbols, and Mr. Johnson is showing me the same picture. So.
Okay. Good. The truck's running in this picture too, isn't it?
Again, that's a presumption. I can't, I'm not sure what you would like me to look at to say, yes, the truck is running.
Well, what I was looking at least to reach that conclusion, was the tachometer again. Do you see it says about, I don't know, 2,300 RPM?
Yes.
And the truck's actually being driven, right?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, do you see the speedometer over here?
I'm assuming that is a speedometer, yes.
Well, it says MPH on it, right?
I can't read it, but I will believe that that is a speedometer.
And the speedometer tells speed, right?
Correct.
What speed does this one show?
I'm going to say 63 miles an hour.
Is it appropriate for Pike drivers to be taking pictures of their dashboard when they're driving at 63 miles an hour?
I have no way to know who took the picture.
Do you think that someone other than the driver took this picture?
It's certainly possible.
Do you think it would be safe for the driver to be reaching over in front of the passenger, to be reaching over in front of the driver and taking pictures while the truck's moving at 60-something miles an hour?
Another question.
I would think if a passenger could take a picture without getting in the driver's line of sight, it would be safe.
Okay. I wanted to ask you a little bit about something else I noticed in those videos from this collision. We were speaking about what drivers do and don't. Did you notice the driver of the Pike truck cleaning his mirror as he drove down the road?
Yes.
That was supposed to be done before he left, wasn't it?
Yes, but it was a very cold, if you remember, frosty morning. It would not be unusual for the mirror to frost up again.
I mean, how long had the driver been out of the lot before he was cleaning his mirror as he drove down the road?
We would have to go back and watch the videos again, something between 5 minutes, give or take.
I mean, the whole video was 5 minutes long, right?
Correct.
And cleaning the mirrors is a part of the pre-trip inspection, isn't it?
Yes.
And Pike's own training manuals tell us that that you're supposed to take care of the mirror before you leave the lot, right?
I have not read the training manual in that level of detail, so I can't testify to that.
Well, I got the training manual from Pike at about 9:40 a.m. this morning, and let's take a look at it. Do you see Plaintiffs Exhibit 28 on the screen in front of you?
Nope, not yet.
Well, it'll help if I share the screen, so my fault. Here it comes.
That means we're going to lose your volume again.
Do you see Plaintiffs Exhibit 28 on the screen in front of you?
I do.
And this says Pike driver training, right?
Yes.
We see a picture of a Pike truck. It's got safety written on the side of it, right?
Correct.
Let's look down to page 8. And do you see here this third bullet point that says, at a minimum, these items should be checked in a pre or post-trip inspection?
Yes.
Doesn't that include mirrors?
Yes.
And in fact, if we look back at Plaintiffs Exhibit 7 again, which is the pre-trip and post-trip inspection forms, we see that there's a little item there for a line for mirrors, right?
Yes.
But nothing was filled out there, was it?
It's my understanding, and again, somebody else can speak to this in more detail. Those are checked when there is a problem, not when there isn't a problem.
Okay. Let's keep talking about that. Another thing we notice in looking in Plaintiffs Exhibit 7 is that there are signatures there for the pre-trip inspection, but none for the post-trip inspection, are
there? Correct. I don't see those.
For example, on the 2 days in which the truck was driven before this collision, I guess the 2 days right before, that is November 30 and December 1, it doesn't appear that there's any signature in the post-trip inspection blank, is there?
Correct.
There's supposed to be something there, isn't there?
Again, I'm sorry, this is not the piece of this that I am not familiar with. Logic tells me yes, but I don't typically deal with the pre and post-trip inspections.
Well, let's look then at the discovery materials again. And we're back to page 8 of Plaintiff's Exhibit 28. And do you see the last bullet point in the box that's highlighted there?
Yes,
It says a post-trip inspection is supposed to be done, doesn't it?
yes,
Says it's required, the next highlighted piece says that's required by federal regulations, right?
yes, I see it in the manual.
Okay. What was wrong with this truck?
I'm going
Object the
to,
form of the question.
yes, and I'm sorry.
And also, I mean, that's what our Mr. Whitehead is going to address. That's the topic area that he's scheduled to address.
Well, I point out that what's wrong with the truck has a lot to do with how the subject collision happened, which is enumeration number 9, for which Ms. Desi has been designated to speak. Now, Ms. Desi, I can't make you know something that you don't know, but the question is, what was wrong with this truck?
And to the best of my ability, I can tell you that we understand there was a problem with something called the regen or the DEN, and I may even be getting those initials wrong, but I'm not positive exactly which of those was having the issue.
That's pretty important, isn't it?
It is, which is why we do have somebody who's more of an expert on this than I am here to speak to you about that.
Are you the one handling this claim?
Somebody on my staff is handling this claim, yes.
Let's look again at Plaintiff's Exhibit 7, those pre-trip inspection forms. Do you see that?
Yes,
Now, this signature here on the day of the collision, December 12, must be that of Jonathan Edwards, the driver, right?
I don't know that for a fact if that is the case. I believe the drivers do the pre and post trip, but I do not know that.
Well, anyway, it says driver's signature right there on Plaintiff's Exhibit 7, doesn't it?
Yes,
And next to that, we see the same signature that appears on the previous pre-trip inspections, right?
correct.
And we even see, it looks like the same signature on 11/24, right?
I can't read that one as well. And if you want to scroll back up where I can see it next to the other one.
That's all right. We'll leave it be for now. Why did this driver keep driving this truck?
Object to the form of the question.
Yeah, I can't answer that question. I mean, he was driving the truck to go to work.
Well, don't you think it's an important question as to why he kept driving this one?
Object to the form of the question as to what she thinks is important.
What's the answer?
Can you ask the question again?
Yeah, don't you think it's important to figure out why he keeps driving this truck? Did his supervisor make him do it?
He's driving this truck to go to the job site, and this truck had not had that issue where it would not go above 5 miles an hour prior to this date.
Don't we keep seeing CE here in the pre-trip inspection forms?
We do, but I don't think you can assume that means check engine.
Well, we've established that the dashboard lights were going on for quite some time before this, right?
I don't know what the definition of quite some time is, but they were going on before the collision.
How many trucks does Pike have?
Roughly 5,000.
I want to ask you a little bit more about how this happened, and including the immediate aftermath of it. Now, there are 2 Pike employees in this truck, right?
Yes.
Isn't it true that even before the police had a chance to speak to those to the driver of the Pike truck, Pike had a third employee on the scene of this collision?
I don't know where he comes into the mix as to when the police got there. I know that he did call his foreman, but I do not know when he arrived versus when the police arrived.
Okay, well, let's take a look at some dash cam video. And this has been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit number 16. I'll show you this short little clip. All right, I'll hit play on Plaintiff's Exhibit 16.
This guy right here just kind of rolled up on it after the fact.
I got you.
Now, the only thing that I want to ask you about in this video clip is we can see on the right here, there are 3 Pike employees, right?
Honestly, I see 3 people in vests, but I can't testify that they're Pike employees. I see 3 people in vests.
Well, you know that the foreman was there on the scene, at least at some point, right?
Yes,
Why did the foreman go?
that's a typical Pike. The employees are to call their foreman if there's been an accident, and the foremans always go to the scene immediately after.
All right. But do you see, anyway, it appears that 3 gentlemen in vests are sitting there talking before the police officer even gets there, right?
I can't testify to that because the police officer is there in this video, so I don't know who arrived at what point.
You agree with me that the police officer is the one in the pale blue shirt with the hat?
When you say object to the form, you say police officer. There are multiple jurisdictions. I'm not sure.
All right, we'll use the term law enforcement officer. Would you agree that the law enforcement officer is the one in the blue shirt with the hat?
I would assume, I'm looking at the back of a silhouette of a person. I would assume, if that's what you're saying, that he is a law enforcement officer.
Right. Well, the 3 men in vests by the side of the Pike truck were there talking before the person who appears to be a law enforcement officer got there, correct?
I don't know that. And again, not trying to be argumentative, but I don't know when they appeared on the scene.
Well, let me just ask you this. What did the foreman say to the driver of the Pike truck?
I do not have an answer to that. I don't know.
Have you ever asked?
What did he say about what? Can you limit that question? I'm not sure if I understand the question. Did he say, "Are you okay? Were you hurt?" I don't know what the question is.
My question is whether you know what the foreman said to the driver of the Pike truck on the scene of the collision.
I do not.
Well, anyway, would you agree that when the driver of the Pike truck did speak to the law enforcement officer, he didn't tell the whole truth about what had happened?
Object to the form of the question.
And I would disagree. It sounded like a double negative in your question, so I'm not sure how to answer. You might need to rephrase the question.
Okay, I'll ask it again. Would you agree that when the driver of the Pike truck spoke with the law enforcement officers on the scene of this collision, he did not tell the whole truth about what had happened?
No, I would not agree. If I'm again, I'm getting caught up in the wording of your question, but I would not say that the Pike driver did not tell the truth to the police officer.
All right, let's watch the video.
Hey, how's it going?
Can you hear the audio in that video?
I can.
All right, I'll play the video from the beginning. This is Plaintiff's Exhibit 16.1. And it also comes with the dash camera of the law enforcement
Have
people.
we seen this for?
Hey, how's it going? Who was driving? You were?
20 Robert Mary Victor 7160.
Robert Mary Zebra 7160 RMZ 7160. What happened?
He's alone and
He just rear-ended you?
yes, sir.
We all in this lane right here? Okay.
Did you hear the Pike driver tell the police officer that he was just easing along?
I didn't, I heard him say he just rear-ended you. I did not hear the part before that.
Okay, let's try again. I believe you're going to hear the driver of the Pike truck say, well, I was just easing along, and then he got rear-ended. Let's try that again.
Robert Mary Zebra 7160 RMZ 7160. What happened?
He's alone and he is.
He just rear-ended you?
Yes, sir.
We all in this lane right here? Okay.
Did you hear this, the driver of the Pike truck say to law enforcement, I was just easing along, and there he is?
Yes.
That wasn't the whole truth, was it?
Objection for the question.
And I'm not sure what, you're gonna have to help me understand what part of that would not be truthful.
Well, my question was, that wasn't the whole truth. Did you understand my question?
I understand your question, but I'm not sure how to answer that any differently. The police officer did not say to him, were you going 60 miles an hour? He said, what happened?
Well, maybe I could just put it this way. The driver of the Pike truck didn't disclose or didn't tell the law enforcement officer that he had been going 4 miles per hour when the collision happened, did he?
Objection to the form of the question. That's not what the officer asked him.
And that was going to be my answer. The officer did not ask him that.
Did the driver say that he was going 4 miles per hour?
No, he was not asked.
Did the driver mention any mechanical problem with the Pike truck?
No, he was not asked.
Did the driver mention the beeping sound or the warning lights on the dashboard?
No, he was not asked.
Don't you think those things are important?
Objection to the form of the question calls for her to speculate on what somebody thinks is important. That's the officer asked the question, so he had an idea in his mind what was important, but you can go ahead and answer.
I don't think it was important considering the fact that he had all of his emergency lights illuminated and he was driving down the road when he was rear-ended.
So you don't think it was important that he was only going 4?
I don't think that's what the officer asked.
Well, as we talk about responsibility for the collision, would you agree that Pike should not be putting trucks on the road if those trucks create hazards for other vehicles?
I would agree that trucks should not be on the road if they are creating a hazard. That's not what happened in this situation.
Well, do you think that 4 miles an hour was a normal speed for this stretch of roadway?
Objection to the form of the question.
I do not think it was as fast as most cars were going on that roadway.
4 miles an hour is not a normal speed, is it?
Objection to the
Again,
form of the question.
it would be a normal speed for a parking lot. Are you saying, is it a normal speed for that stretch of that roadway? No.
Right. The Pike truck was not in a parking lot when this wreck happened, was it?
Correct.
Now, wouldn't you agree that drivers who fail to maintain a normal speed create hazards?
Object to the form of the question.
It,
Normal speed is vague, and that's not what the statute requires. But you can go ahead and answer.
it would depend on the situation.
Well, let me show you something then. I'll show you what's been marked as Plaintiffs Exhibit 20. Do you see that in front of you?
Yes,
That says the Commercial Driver's Manual, right?
yes,
Now, we know from Pike's discovery responses that in order to drive this truck, the driver had to have a commercial driver's license, right?
correct.
And this says it's the Commercial Driver's Manual, right?
Correct.
All right, let's go look, and we'll look now at page 27 of Plaintiff's Exhibit 20. Do you see highlighted there where it says motorists who fail to maintain normal speed are hazards?
Yes,
All right. Pike Electric is what we call a motor carrier, right?
yes,
Okay. And that means that Pike has to follow the federal motor carrier safety regulations, right?
I'm going to let the Director of Safety speak more to that because I believe there are some regulations that we're required to abide by, but not all.
Okay. Well, I'll take that answer. But isn't it true, as I learned for the first time this morning, that Pike gives all of its drivers a pocket-sized book about the federal motor carrier safety regulations?
I do not believe that we give that to all of our drivers, and I'm gonna defer to the Director of Safety on that because I'm not sure.
Well, let's take a look then at what we received in discovery on that point. Do you see Plaintiffs Exhibit 28 on the screen in front of you?
Yes,
All right, and this is the Pike driver training manual again, right?
correct.
All right, we'll now go to page 3 of Plaintiffs Exhibit 28, the Pike driver training manual. And you see highlighted there that it says to complete the course, that people are going to need the Pike Federal and Motor Carrier Safety Regulations pocketbook, right?
Correct.
And the Pike even makes the drivers sign an acknowledgement that they received that book, right?
I see it in this, yes. And again, we can get into this when you speak with safety, but not everybody takes that course.
Okay, but in order to drive this truck, you had to have a commercial driver's license, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's look. Also, we'll go back to, if I can find it. Oh, Plaintiff's Exhibit number 19. No, it's not what I want. But this is it. Here we go. All right. So now we're in Plaintiff's Exhibit 4, which is the Pike Stay Safe Manual. And on page 22 of that exhibit, you see the heading there that says vehicle inspections?
I do.
And this talks about how the post-trip and pre-trip inspection forms are required by those same federal motor carrier safety regulations, right?
Yes,
We've established that this driver was supposed to be filling out the pre-trip and post-trip inspection forms, right?
yes.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that a company is supposed to fix the problems that appear on those pre-trip and post-trip inspection reports before it sends a vehicle out on the road?
Object to the form of the question. And this may be again something for our other witness, but Ms. Desi, if you know, you can address it.
I do not know.
Well, wouldn't that make some sense? That if something's the point of listing something on a pre or post-trip inspection form is so you can fix it, right?
Object to the form of the question.
I would assume, and again, this is an assumption, that it's not everything that's listed on there would be emergent, and things could be listed on there that could be fixed at a later date.
Well, do you agree that the problem with this Pike truck was serious?
Object to the form of the question.
I am not familiar with what was happening that was making the lights go off.
Do you think it's serious when a truck that is being driven on a divided U.S. highway can only go 4 miles per hour?
Object to the form of the question.
Yes, depending on the term serious, but yes.
Okay, let me show you. We've talked a little bit about the regulations. Let me show you what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 30. You see that on the screen in front of you?
I do.
It says 49 CFR 396.11, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar that CFR means Code of Federal Regulations?
No.
Okay. We'll scroll down to the bottom of this and highlight it as the point I wanted to make. Doesn't this say that if there's a problem listed on the pre or post-trip inspection report that relates to safety or would likely affect safety is supposed to be fixed.
That's what, I'm reading it for the first time right now. That's what it says.
All right, thank you. Ms. Desi, what grade would you give Pike for its maintenance of this truck?
Objective form of question, that's vague.
I don't know how I would answer that question.
Well, I mean, it relates directly to responsibility for the subject collision, which is enumeration 10 in our notice, which is one of your topics. So the question is, what grade, like A, B, C, D, or F, would you give Pike for its maintenance of this truck?
Again, I'm going to object to the question. I don't know that that's really a question that could be anticipated based on the topic areas that were identified, but subject to the objection, if you can answer.
I can't answer that. I've never taught school. I've never taught a class. I've never given out grades. So I can't begin to guess what a grade would be.
Have you ever received grades?
I have received grades.
Why can't you give Pike a grade? Like A for very good, B for good, C for average, D for below average, or F for well below average, for its maintenance of the subject truck?
Object to the question. It's vague and argumentative, and the maintenance of the truck overall may be different from one particular issue. So the whole question is vague.
Can you answer, Ms. Desi?
I can answer. Again, maintenance, that goes to a lot of pieces of the truck, right? So that's a very broad statement. There's a lot of components on that truck. So you're asking me to give it a grade on maintenance when we're talking about 1,000 components of a truck, then obviously you're zooming in on a particular issue. So if you're going to look at how you're graded in school, if one issue, you make one mistake on an exam, you're still going to get a 99. So if you want me to say the brakes were good, the headlights worked and the tires were good, but this particular issue was bad, then that's a 99. I guess they get an A. I don't know how else to answer that question.
Would you give Pike an A for its maintenance on this truck?
And what I'm saying to you is I don't know how to put a numerical grade on that answer.
How about a letter? Can you do that?
A letter or a number. It's the same thing. Maintenance is a very broad word. There's a lot of things that are maintained on a truck.
How about for the maintenance of this particular issue? What grade would you give Pike?
Still objective form of question.
I know that we were aware of an issue with the light going on when he left. We were not aware that the truck was not going to be able to get up to highway speeds.
All right, we'll move on then to the next question. What grade would you give Pike's driver for the decisions he made on the morning of December 2, 2020?
And I'm going to make the same statements. I can't grade the driver's abilities.
Do you think it was good or bad?
I think he was trying to get off to a safe place. I think he turned on every possible light and emergency flashers to illuminate to anybody on that road that he was having a mechanical issue.
So do you think that the decisions that the Pike driver made on the morning of December 2, 2020 were good?
I think he did the best he could when he realized he had a mechanical issue.
Do you think he was right to leave the parking lot with the dashboard lights on and the beeping sound going on?
I think he had no expectation that the truck would not get up to highway speed.
Do you think he was right to drive that truck in the traffic, do you think he was right to leave the shoulder of the road and drive the truck in the traffic lane at 4 miles an hour at dawn?
I don't have an answer. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. If another Pike driver were to come up to you and say, Ms. Desi, I have an idea. At dawn tomorrow, I'm going to get in a Pike truck and drive it along US Highway 19 at 4 miles an hour. What would you tell that driver?
It is a hypothetical question. And I would obviously tell them to be safe, to turn on their lights and flashers and make sure that their truck was well illuminated.
Would you tell them to drive in the traffic lane at 4 miles an hour?
it's not my role to tell them how to drive anywhere, so I don't know that I would ever make that comment to anybody.
Do you think it was a good idea?
That was one question.
Do I think what was a good idea?
Leaving the parking lot and then driving in the traffic lane at 4 miles an hour at dawn on US Highway 19.
Again, he had no reason to expect that the truck would not go up to highway speed.
Do you think it was a good idea to drive in the traffic lane or not? Or if you're going to refuse to answer, tell me that and I'll quit asking.
Objection is argumentative. She's answering the question as best she can.
In retrospect, could he have pulled off safely? He should have pulled off safely. I don't know that there was an area where it was safe for him to pull off before the area he was trying to get to.
Isn't it true that he started on the shoulder, then moved into the traffic lane?
It looks like he's briefly straddling the shoulder and the traffic lane. I don't think he was ever completely on the shoulder.
Let's take a look at a video marked Plaintiff's Exhibit 10. All right, I'm going to play Plaintiff's Exhibit 10.1.
We are not seeing your screen, Mr. Butler.
All right, well, let me try again. Thank you. All right, do you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right, I'll play Plaintiff's Exhibit 10.1.
Right on the side of the road or in the road? Right in the road. Put this on. That's pretty damn nice in there.
Isn't it true that the driver started on the side of the road and then moved into the traffic lane?
It appears he's on the side of the road for about 4 seconds.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.